Now, the rest of the story.
Well, I didn't do so good at keeping up with my, maintenance. Normally I like to go through and get the balers ready to go after I use them immediately, like the same day. But I went ahead and helped haul hay in instead because my brother is broken. So it's just me and Dad for the most part. Oh, Relina helped. Honestly, I think Relina did the majority of the work yesterday. I'm pretty sure. If I ask her, that's probably what she'd tell me. So you get all this chaff and dirt and debris all over everything. I only made 15 bales, but it doesn't take very long to have a mess. And when you get up underneath the back end of the tractor, like up in here, all that does is create a bunch of insulation, and it just traps all the heat. And heat, when it comes to basically any of this machinery, causes wear and tear. And I didn't realize I had this much material left in here when I dropped out that last, it was like a 2-inch bale. But I'm having issues, and I need to look at everything a little bit closer. On my bales that I'm making, I'm having a spot on it where it looks like the net wrap is getting buggered up. Not where it's ruining it, like it's still wrapping, but it's looking like the net wrap is just getting caught. We're gonna lock that up. 569 is my favorite baler, obviously. The 566 is still here. We still use it. I plan on using it, I guess. All depends if Ryan's gonna be able to help. Otherwise, I know Dad will run this one and help me bale. It's just that typically under those circumstances, Dad's usually baling or raking, and Ryan and I are baling. A lot of what that's going to be is, hello, nope. A lot of what that's going to be is down at the valley. Planning on making 100% of that when we do go down and cut it, which is probably going to be sooner than later, just because it's been so dry, and I don't want to run the risk of hoping to wait till the end of September to make it and then find out that we may need to be combining, because we did that one year and I didn't enjoy it. This back rotor here, it helps feed the material into the bale. I think part of what makes this baler so awesome is because it'll basically eat anything I try to feed it. The kicker, I'm not a fan of the kicker for us. I'm really not. The only place I have where I could utilize it is going to be down at the valley on the actual, like, the bottom field, like the fields that are flat. Everything that I made yesterday, I was worrying about them going down into a ditch, and that would have been a bit of an adventure trying to get them back out. But I have right there, it's cracked. I was gonna touch that up, and I also have a wear spot right here where it's starting to wear through, and it's got a bunch of material in there that I am most definitely not crazy about. But I need to do something here. If I just do a bead of weld, like soak this stuff down with water really good, and then try to dig it out of there, honestly. But I need to, the other side's fine, but I need to do something here. For how many bales this thing has on it, I mean, it's got its issues where I'll have to address them as we go. We didn't have a whole lot of hay to make this year. Fodder, doing corn fodder is probably going to be the hardest, is always going to be the hardest job that a baler has to do, and that's going to be probably about the most bales in one go we'll be making with the 569. I'm thinking we're going to need about 300 bales. Not necessarily just what we need for bedding, but because of the current hay situation, hay availability, might need to supplement a little bit more fodder, just to kind of coax them along. Tyson asked me about the brush for this baler, because he's got a newer baler and it's got a brush on the back end by the knife, and his is giving him issues. I took mine out because of what everybody told me online. When I got it, I was told, guys have trouble with them, take it out. And I did, and I haven't had any issues yet. And when it comes to the net wrap on this baler, just random, wear and tear like this, I'm gonna want to address. I'm gonna basically go through right now and hit it with the air hose, clean it up, grease it, lube the chains, and address these cracks. See, because that one's fine, that one just needs to be touched up. And then I want to do the air filters and everything on the tractor, and just I just want to feel like I'm farther than what I am as far as going through and having all of our machinery ready to go, and ready to go back to work, because it's like the 1st of September right now, and in the next 3 weeks we can go from doing odd jobs around the farm to rushing through trying to get our hay made for our last time, and then could really just drop right in and go right to harvest. Is the soybeans in particular are definitely looking like they're starting to dry, and I'm actually seeing some corn in the area, not necessarily all like our corn, but just different fields of corn in the area that are drying out, or they're they're looking like they're getting ready to think about being harvested. So as far as this goes, I don't see me ever getting rid of the 569 in the short term. I do want to go through, fix it up, and keep it maintained. And I actually see us actually getting rid of the 566 and getting a newer baler, and then putting the 569 in the same job that the 566 is. Just, it's nice to have a backup baler. Even if we're not running 2 balers, it's nice knowing that we got another one I can hook up to and go, which is really important. As silly as it looks putting an 8R on this guy, this will actually pull down the 82. You get into the right spots, hills and whatever else. The bales that I'm making really aren't too heavy generally. We made some 70% hay alfalfa that was wrapped, and that stuff was easily 2,000 pounds a bale. I mean, they were a little bit greener than I really would have liked to make with a baler. That's a little bit harder on it than I like it to be. But the plan I want to do, at least right now, is once I get this done real quick. I say quick, but unlikely. I'm going to get that onto the harrow out back. That needs to be welded together and just fixed up, so that way the harrow is done. It was busted this spring, and then it's been sitting out with the intentions of me getting it worked on. I just haven't gotten it to it yet. And then I want to go through the 76, get that on the Moco, because I'm figuring by the end of this week I can probably go cut some waterways or something, because it's September. I mean, go ahead and get it made at this point. But I got like waterways at here at the home farm, like down at my place, where they're annoying to do, and there's actually going to be a fair amount of feed in them. Just off the waterways in the past, doing first cut, they've averaged like 32 bales just for the waterways. That doesn't include any of the hay strips. So I don't want to not make them, especially in the year where having hay to feed cattle is actually a pretty valuable commodity right now. So I'm going to go ahead. I want to get this worked on. I'll get you guys caught back up here. I'm going to throw some grease on this thing, and I'm going to call the baler and the tractor done, other than a quick hit with the washer and then scrubbing the windows. Went through and I changed out all the pins on the belts, and the reason you do that is to prevent causing a major headache down the road. So here is a brand new one, fairly, it's got the nubs on it, but still fairly round. Actually, that is a lightly used one that I took out. Oh, I guess it's getting replaced anyway. This is a brand new one, but here is a pretty well used one. Got all the grooves where the laces are riding, and what will happen is one of those will turn into one of these, and I actually pulled this out of one of the end belts, what'll happen is when those pins fail, if it's only a partial like that, then what'll happen is if it actually falls out or breaks out, your laces could actually shear and then rip your belt and ruin your belt. So I don't really want to see that. These are all used. I thought I had replacements on these. This one is probably a replacement from Deere, just because it's got most of its tread on it yet. Granted, I don't remember if I replaced any of these. I think I replaced one, which I think it's that one. The rest of these are looking pretty rough. The second one there, I did not replace the pin in that one. It's getting pretty shook, but this belt for sure will be replaced before next year. It's got enough life on it yet. I mean, I've ran it like that all summer to sound terrible, but that's what I did. It's already got another actual splice in it, so it's got two. This guy is looking pretty rough. The corner one is looking pretty rough. I bought a set of belts for this. I gotta finish the job with the cell phone because I just ran the battery down on my GoPro. So on this baler, I am still running the original belts, largely because I wanted to get all the life out of them that I could. And this baler has been such an awesome baler since I got it anyway, that the belts really haven't been an issue. My concern is on this end here where this is all worn through. There's no fixing that. I was just going to put a bead of weld through it, and you can see where I started to, and I ground it back down smooth because this is essentially paper thin. And I could move that with my fingernail. And it's cracked right here, it's cracked right there. So right now, well, it's not like we're running a huge number of bales through every single year. I mean, maybe close 1,500. I mean, granted the 566 is getting some of those bales put on them too, but I won't run fodder through the 566 again if I can ever help it, just because baling fodder with this machine it's about as close as I can get to heaven without actually being there, I guess. So that back rotor here, I think is 1,000% of that. I have a couple teeth that do need to be replaced. The reason I'm not going to is because we are in the final stretch of our growing. So as far as our growing season goes, I got to make all of our last cut for the year. Basically, whatever cutting we are on, wherever we're at in a particular field, anything that we have yet to make that is still standing, which is everything, we'll be making here in the next 2.5 weeks. Valley included. So grass and hay is not very hard on these balers. It's not. Well, making that silage for my brother, that's, well, all that gunk that you're seeing in here. All this stuff, I mean, that's significantly worse when I first, you see it's all grinding off, but this whole, both side panels were just covered in that sap from the alfalfa, like that roll up there. That's what'll happen is your baler will gum up. I mean, this isn't exactly set up to be a silage baler. All the rolls need to be replaced. You can see, like right here on every spot where the belts are running, it's worn it down. So these got to be replaced. It's just that $2,300, $2,800, and right on around the baler. I mean, I'd probably replace them all. I've already replaced the main drive one. This is the one that I was told was guaranteed to fail, and she did, you know, right when we needed her the most. But I like this baler enough, it saves me enough headaches that I'm willing to put the time, energy, and money into it to fix it up. Just the way our operation is looking, I like having that second baler. We have, being short of tractors really isn't much of a concern right now, and that's really not a thing that I'm making a big priority about wanting another tractor yet. With the 79, I mean, the workload is definitely lessened up a little bit across all the machinery, but having another baler to count on when one goes down, like this is my primary baler. What I would like to do is replace the 566 with either another 569, which if I could find the right one, I would consider it seriously. Otherwise, I'd look at like a new R or something. I want a heavy-duty baler. I mean, there's commercial balers and then there's the regular balers. Like, I think it's the 560Ms are like your commercial balers. The 60Rs, where everything is just a little bit heavier. That's what I want. I've ran enough bales through a 535 and through that 566. I put a lot of work into that 566 when we got it. And similar story is what's going to happen with this baler. It's just that this one has been running so much more consistently. A lot less headaches, where at least I know when I go to run it, I can rely on it. You got your wear parts. I mean, the belts I've already discussed. The roller chains, we changed all the chains out. The sprockets were shot. Dad went through and did all those. Replaced all those for me this season, the year that we brought it home. I've been keeping them in check every single year. I mean, as soon as I feel like the chains need to be replaced, I'll do it. The one chain alone is like $480, but it's also twice as heavy as the one that's on the 566 that seems to fail perpetually. So, I mean, keeping machinery updated is huge, but I also think updating to machinery that is reliable. So machinery that is reliable doesn't necessarily mean it's a brand new machine. It just means a machine that is actually built heavy enough for the conditions that you're going through. And I don't even shudder at the idea of going down and making that heavy cut material down at the valley for first cutting. That stuff's heavy. That stuff, you're pulling in a lot of material in a relatively short amount of time. This year, no, but baling fodder last fall with this thing, literally the most enjoyable fodder baling I've ever had. Other than, yes, when the fodder got rained on, whatever, so it was wet. Yes, that's what you expect out of crummy material that you're trying to make. But baling the dry stuff up here and basically running it through like it's first cut hay, I loved it. I mean, if it saves you headaches, it's worth it. I mean, I got to throw parts at it, big deal. But that's why I don't show it, I guess, so much anymore, because people don't really seem to enjoy the updating and the working on machinery stuff, at least the stuff that I try to put out. But that is also a big part of what I do, is I'm trying to keep the stuff ready to go, field ready, as much as possible. And with harvest potentially being sooner than last year, I'm kind of scrambling trying to get stuff covered. And the combine, I didn't realize this because I do got to pull the combine out, but all I got to do is move the rotary mower and I can pull it out. I got to turn I think I got to connect the batteries. I can't remember. Back that out. It's not getting a whole lot of work and attention. It ran flawlessly last fall. I have wear areas that I'm going to look over, but other than your standard yearly oil change, grease, and check the gearboxes, the combine should be sitting pretty good. After this year, we're going to go through, I'm going to have the dealership actually come down or take it up there. I don't know, I don't really care, but I do want the dealership to do the maintenance, the inspection. I was going to do it every year, but I was told every other year. And seems how last year was the first full season we used it, and the year before that we only ran it over 150 acres. They recommended to me to wait until after this season and then start going, every other year. So after this year, it'll get worked on or checked over. But once again, I love this baler. It's a good match for the 82. I know the 79 would be a pretty good match for it also. It's Dad's tractor. That's the one Dad always wants to use, and that's perfectly fine with me. It's a nice rotor tractor for raking and everything too. You can set your IVT to coast, and you're really easy on fuel. My only issue with that 79 is that she drinks fuel when I was planting with it, but I was also lugging it pretty hard, wide open, going 6.7, 6.8 miles an hour in a few instances when I was dragging the planter across the field. It's what it is. if we would have had better weather to get a consistent emergence on our corn, I think I'd been a lot happier, but I can't help it. Our stand is infinitely better than what it's been in the past. But if you guys are wondering what this big wad of wires is, before I end this video, this is the wiring harness off of my bean head. Remember, maybe I didn't tell you or did go over it enough, but the bean head did not want to height correct like it's supposed to last fall. I mean, we ran it with running code errors all season, and if you guys can't see, basically the whole wiring harness has rodent damage on it, and it's up underneath where the feeder house connects to the header. Oh, my phone's not picking that up. The mice get up underneath there and they strip the wires. I don't know how the head was even working last year. I really don't. See, look at this. Completely stripped. There is no coating on that whatsoever. So we moved the routing on the wiring harness, and I'm waiting for one more harness for our stubble lights. I guess that's an add-on, it's an addition. And the problem with that is I got to go through and pay another $200 for that harness just to have my stubble lights to work. Yes, I can probably wire it up, you know, kind of redneck style and make it work. I don't want to, because there's so many electronics and controllers, and I really, especially on this newer stuff, when you got machinery that's got a lot of electrical just to make the engine, you know, turn over, and I don't want to hear people that sit and complain that just run the old sound guard crap like that. No, once you actually start running the newer equipment, it's really hard to ever want to go back. I know I don't, and I just don't like doing too much with wiring and changing stuff out from what it's supposed to be, and run the risk of who knows what happening on that head. Maybe you get a short or something. I just don't want to deal with it. So why do I want to spend that kind of money to get the stubble lights to work? We don't do a whole lot of combining after dark, but you do a little bit. I mean, albeit for an hour or so. And when you're pushing a 30-foot head across the field, I do like to see that you're actually cutting your stubble. You know, you're actually cutting down to the ground. You're not leaving $10 beans still standing in the field. And once you run it with it, I kind of don't want to go back to not having it. So that's it for this video. I'm going to try to start doing shorter videos, because I can't do 15-20 minute videos all the time. I just can't. So I'll talk to you guys later.